Thank you, everyone. Well, it's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for everyone that has attended, and hope you've enjoyed the evening so far. I'm encouraging everyone to be social activists and change makers, and we're encouraging that definitely throughout the 2-week exhibition with this forum and next week's forum as well. So I'll tell you my story through my artworks, and just a warning that these slides include images and names of deceased people that may cause sadness or distress to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. So here are my parents before I was born and before the coup. I started this series in 2013 to commemorate the 40th anniversary of the military coup that toppled the democratically elected Agenda government, to highlight the first and often overlooked September 11. The 1973 Chilean coup series inspired by my rich family history and personal experience. Private family photos were sourced to document a personal story, depicting one family that left and the other that stayed behind. Colour symbolism is predominant throughout all my work, and I'll go through it in each stage in the different series that I'll discuss with you tonight. The soldiers here are depicted in 2 colours, green and blue. It is Picasso's technique from the blue period, and it symbolises the loss, mourning and sorrow. The green represents the copper. That's when the copper is exposed between 5 to 20 years, and that is the only thing that protected Chile from complete economic collapse in the early 80s, because Pinochet didn't sell Codelco, which was a huge mining company, and it was actually privatised by Agenda. And they generated 85% of Chile's export revenues. So that means it was able to survive the financial collapse. Gold represents the tank's purpose is to subdue the people in order to plunder the country's wealth and exploit and remove resources, example mining. In the next works, with the tanks coming down Santiago, in the city which I witnessed actually when I went there, which was quite a devastating experience to see that happening actually, but all the signs there are reflective and symbolic. El Mercurio, was a CIA financed newspaper, so you can imagine the control of the people during that time. This one here, that's my uncle. So since my father left Chile, he was in the military, so he didn't have to, I guess, pursue the activities that they were ordered to as soldiers. My uncle did. And in Chile, Argentina, and in Uruguay, the junta staged massive ideological cleanup operations. They actually burned books by Freud, Marx, and Neruda, closing hundreds of newspapers and magazines, occupying universities, banning strikes, and political meetings. I sourced a lot of my information from the Shock Doctrine by Naomi Klein. I don't know if you may recall, but she won last year's Australian Peace Prize. The collage represents some of my major influences. You can see there some of the main works. That is actually my first painting that I painted when I was 15. I actually didn't know how to paint at that stage, so that was all self-taught. The next 2 drawings, this was for my HSC, and you can see from the earlier collage where a lot of that influence was stemmed from. There was a series of 6 drawings, and which I did of African children and of athletes in the United States. This particular athlete was a baseball player, and I'm depicting him because not only did he suffer racism, but also in the league he suffered a lot of prejudice for being homosexual as well. Now, this scene is the lifesaver, so just to let you know that it wasn't all just social justice. I did have a great interest in the male anatomy as well when I was young. So I won't be a hypocrite. But whilst in university, I did immerse myself again in social conflicts throughout the world at the time, with South Africa, Australia's white policy, which was only abolished in '66, yet the repercussions continued throughout. So the civil rights movements never really ended, and to this day, we know they still go on. This is to show you the work that I did while I travelled to Europe, studying the techniques of the masters, heavily influenced, of course, by Michelangelo's slaves. And whilst I was there, I painted directly from the works, which was a really beautiful opportunity. And I was there for the Florence Biennale of Contemporary Art, which I was an award winner with my series White Rope, which you'll see later on. But first I'll talk about this exhibition, which was finalists and selected for World Youth Day Festival. And the Stations of the Cross actually was one of 500 entries that was selected by Rome to be part of World Youth Day Festival celebrations here in Sydney. And for this work, again, it was inspired by my trip to Florence, where I wanted to reinterpret the Stations of the Cross with the contemporary narrative of an African-American boxer and also Indigenous boxers. So I used both models and narratives within that work. I was invited to exhibit at the church, and by exhibiting at that church and putting together the exhibition for the congregation and for the Indigenous people in Redfern, this work won an award in the United States by Faith and Form, and I was one of, I think I am the only Australian that has ever won the International Architecture Design Awards for Visual Arts. The work was exhibited in Miami, Florida, as part of the conference. So the jury comments for this work was, exhibiting these paintings in a church invites interpretations that reflect the changing times and the social context. The work is thought-provoking and makes a powerful statement, recasting the Stations across as a contemporary and relevant experience. That was the jury awards. I'll quickly go through the series of the Puculus Passion. So that's Agony in the Garden. And as you can see, it portrays the events of the Garden of Gethsemane, where Jesus exhorts his disciples to keep watch as he prayed. Then he said to him, "Stay here and watch over me." As you can see, the reinterpretation here is the boxer is asking them to, help him train, help him work out in the park. And you can see the tranquility of their sleep is juxtaposed starkly with the anguish of the boxer, who's grasping his purple towel and a skipping rope, a reference to the future lashes of the whip that he'll receive. Next one is The Betrayal. The Betrayal, again, won the award in the United States and was exhibited in New York. And it was also won an award here. It was for the 56th Blake Prize for Religious Art. And in this scene, Judas embodies the trainer in the boxing allegory, and he's whispering to the boxer that the match is rigged, and the outcome is already decided, and he's expected to take the fall in the 12th round, which corresponds with the Passion. In Condemned, this painting actually depicts a weight scale with important national and international historical dates that aligns, again, the White Australia policy with international conflicts on segregation. So instead of just using a normal weight scale, it actually has the years. And some of our most important political and historical years of reference. So I'll just give you an example. The assistant is on the sliding scale. He draws the view to 1963, and it is the year Martin Luther King Jr. delivers his I Have a Dream speech, and President John F. Kennedy is assassinated. And also the Berlin Wall is only opened for one day. So it's a very important year that I referenced there. And this one is the mocking, again set in a contemporary version where actually they are set to mock the boxer, actually torture him and bruise him, and basically ensure that the outcome is set when it, if it's not going to take the fall, he's definitely going to be bruised enough that he won't be able to continue fighting. And here the boxer's cutman Peter, again symbolically, he's garbed in yellow, which represents deceit and denial, and he's showing lowering the bag onto the boxer, weighing him down. Next is Simon of Cyrene, another reinterpretation of the past translated into a contemporary setting. And this, I've chosen people of different nationalities to be in this work, which I won't go into at the moment. And that's actually talking about the symbolism in the work. David is an important feature in all the work that I do. I reference him quite a lot, and you'll see in the work outside he's been referenced as well. That is Caravaggio's version of David and Goliath. He's holding Goliath's head there, reinterpreted as the boxer. Next. Those are the influences of three different Davids. As you can see, I've sourced Bernini's David there in the works that you see outside. Next. And there is that work that is David 1, And there he's actually just defiantly showing that he's unarmed. So there's no arm, and you can see the red line there, which is representing the line of segregation, which a lot of these communities have to deal with, not just there, but here in Australia as well. Next. That's David 2 and David 3. And David 3, they all represent each person that actually has been killed by the police. This David actually represents, as he's just about to throw the stone, that will actually bring down the colossal Goliath. And you'll notice that he's pursing 2 cigarettes in his lips, and that represents Eric Garner, aged 43, who died after the chokehold in the United States in New York. And Mr. Garner, if you may recall, repeated, "I can't breathe," 11 times while he was lying down face on the concrete ground. Those are the 3 men and the young boy, 12. And this is the association with Australia, the link to Australia, so that we're not always thinking that this occurs outside our realm, it's occurring somewhere else. It's actually occurring here in Australia. So I wanted to draw the parallel very closely to John Pat, who was only 16 years old when he was arrested, and he died in little over an hour while he was locked up to massive blows to the head. Eddie Murray, age only 21, also killed in custody, and Royal Commission into his death didn't actually reveal anything, and no one was implicated in his death. And Aboriginal elder Mr. Ward, aged 47, actually was also killed in a van, in a police van. Okay. So we'll just flick through these quickly so you can see the White Robe series. Those are all based on Indigenous boxes, and also have won numerous awards in different places. And I'll end there. So the boxes that you saw were Ron Richards, Tony Mundine, and Dave Sands, and Lionel Rose. And if you wish to see these works live, you're more than welcome to visit me at the studio in Newtown on 5 Eliza Street, and I'll be happy to show you some of the works if you wish to come along. Thank you very much.